Hey everybody, this is Peter with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and I'm excited to be back with you for another role-playing game review. Recently, we received the books from Freely Publishing for their Lord of the Rings role-playing game for the 5th edition rule set, which is an adaptation of their previously released game, The One Ring 2nd Edition. Now, I recently did do a video for the core book for this game. If you want to go back in the channel, you can find that video. But today we're going to be taking a look at Shire Adventures. Now, the Lord of the Rings role-playing game is the adaptation of Free League Publishing's The One Ring 2nd Edition, its own standalone game that uses a D6 system and has some very cool mechanics, and it's a really great introduction also to Middle Earth. And they wanted to bring the game over for people who play the 5th edition rule set so that it could be more widely played. And they had previously released a core rule book as well as a starter set. And in the starter set, there was some extra information, extra lore about the world of Middle Earth, focusing on the Shire. And there's also a series of adventures in that starter set. Well, for this 5th edition version, they decided to not use it as a starter set, but to put it in a hardback book. So this book here, Shire Adventures, has all of that same information that you would have found in the starter set for the One Ring 2nd Edition. It has a bunch of information about the Shire, the area where the hobbits come from in Lord of the Rings, as well as then an adventure to run for your players. So if you've already purchased the Lord of the Rings role-playing game core book and you're looking for some pre-written adventures, as well as some more information about the world the game is taking place in, Shire Adventures is definitely something you're going to want to pick up. Now, they didn't just send us the hardcover book, they sent us the PDF. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and step away from this set here, and we're going to dive into the computer, and I'm going to pull up the PDF, and we'll flip through just a little bit of the information that you're going to get in Shire Adventures. So let's go ahead and take a look inside this awesome book. All right, everybody, so we are here with the PDF of the Lord of the Rings role-playing 5e rule set from Freely Publishing. This is the Shire Adventures PDF. And I love this art. It's very interesting. We get a little bit of Bilbo leaving his house at Bag End. And he's got his ring. He's got the One Ring. And you can see he's about to slip it on, about to go invisible. And I love that the ring itself just has this light, this reflective light about it as it's lighting up his fingertips, a bit of his shirt right there at the center of the page as well. The only thing that's a little seeming like a little out of keeping of his normal character, he looks a little bit sinister almost in the eyes, the way that he's squinting his eyes a little bit and the look on his face. I just don't know. It just seems a little bit out of character, though the mouth is more giving me a little bit of mischievousness, and maybe that's what they were going for with this work of art, because that would make sense. Mischievous. Bilbo, he got a little mischievous at times for sure, but every once in a while he reads a little sinister to me, which just seems out of keeping. But at the same time, he is playing with the One Ring, and the One Ring, for those of you who know, definitely has it's all about darkness, and so maybe that's just a little bit of that bleeding over into his character. But that's a little deep dive into this art. I do like the art a lot. The style is great, and let's go ahead and flip a little bit through this book to see what the Shire Adventures book is bringing to your Lord of the Rings role-playing 5e rule set game. So we open up and we get in here a map of the Shire, and it's broken into its farthings. So we have the north farthing, the east farthing, the south farthing, and the west farthing. And each one of these locations is going to get a little bit of a deep dive in this book, which I think is fantastic. It's great to get to know these areas because, again, the majority of your game is going to be taking place in Eriador, and the Shire is part, or Hobbiton is part of Eriador. And it's just really cool that we get the kind of a specific deep dive here in this locale. We have our introduction page here where we get to see everybody who took place in writing or creating rules or doing art for it as well. And then we get the book broken down into its parts. So this is going to be broken into regarding the Shire, where we get all of our history and our lore for these locations. And then we get the Conspiracy of the Red Book, which is a series of 5 adventures that you can run for your players. And then we get the Appendix, which is just a set of pre-generated character sheets. So if you pick this up, as well as then the core rulebook, you're ready to go ahead and get to playing right away. And again, this book with the One Ring 2nd edition was a starter set. So you could buy it as a boxed starter set for the One Ring 2nd edition, but now they've adapted that for this hardcover book / PDF that we're looking at right now. So we're not going to dive deep into all of this information. I mostly just wanted to let you see what the book itself is giving you. So you're going to find a lot of stat blocks in here, and you're going to find some really cool, I'm going to pull this up into a 2-page spread here. You get these really nice works of art throughout the book as well, which I would definitely have on hand when playing the game so that you can show it to your players. This is a really, really cool shot of Hobbiton, and it's just, I love the idea of the docks. I mean, we in the movies we get to see a lot of the farmland, but here with this piece of art we get to see them up against the river as well, and seeing them having some docks and some buildings close in to the water, but then we see the hill rising behind it with all of the circular doors going up and the road just going up the path there. I absolutely love the art in this book. And so we can see the hobbits going across a little ferry boat ride across the river there. So we do get this nice brief history of the Shire. The entire book is also filled with some really nice line art sketches as well, that are going to play out some of the information here in the Shire. And we get, again, some information about the geography, and we get a nice 1-page piece work of art here for the map also. But then when we break down to each individual place's information, we just get a full page that is just the piece of the map for their section. So we've got the West Farthing here, nice circle of Hobbiton specifically, and then we go through some information. Here we see an inn gossip table. So if you want to have some games taking place here and they visit an inn, you can roll on a table to hear about some gossip that might be being given out by other hobbits that are there in the inn. We also have here a Gandalf gossip table as well. So Gandalf is one of the patrons here in Middle-earth and in this game. So if you end up using him, you can have some gossip that might be about Gandalf, or the Grey Pilgrim as they would have called him sometimes as well. So lots of really great information, some NPCs that you're going to be able to pull from, some information here for journeys. So as you're journeying, that's a whole other pillar of the game that they really focus on in this game, that's not super focused on in the normal 5th edition rule set. They do a really great job of focusing on journeys as well. So we have the South Farthing and the North Farthing, a lot less information in those 2 locations. Again, with the West Farthing having Hobbiton in it, we get a whole lot of information there, a lot less on these further ones. And then the East Farthing, which is going to be, you know, as Brandywine, as you're getting closer over to the rest of Eriador. They do go ahead and pull out some other specific places, not just the Farthings, but they do give you some information about Buckland specifically. And then there's also the Old Forest, which if you've read the books again, Tom Bombadil over here in the Old Forest area also. So it's nice that we get a little bit of specific focus. All of a sudden you're going from the rural pastoral land of the Shire, and now you're getting into a little bit of the dark area of the world when you move into the Old Forest. And there's a nice little work of art for Tom Bombadil, and then and Goldberry back there in the back as well of that piece of art. So all of that information is getting you set up to run the series of 5 adventures that they have for you in this book, with the overarching title of The Conspiracy of the Red Book. And so your players are going to be playing as the characters. We have the pre-made character sheets, so that's the easiest thing to do, is just to go ahead and print those out for your players and have them run those characters rather than make their own. But they're all going to be playing as hobbits in these adventures, which again for me is like, it's a dream come true. I think it's going to be a blast. And so they have that all set up for you. We're not going to go through now the adventures themselves, just because we don't want to give off too much information here. But the very first one is called A Conspiracy Most Cracked. And then we have Expert Treasure Hunters. And you'll see that each one is only just a few pages of information with some stat blocks for any of the creatures that they might come up against. We have the most excellent fireworks, Involuntary Postman, and To Soothe a Savage Beast. So that is all the information that I'm going to be giving you for those adventures, just the titles of them and the fact that they're just a few pages each. Each one's probably going to be played in a single game session, maybe as many as 2 game sessions, but shouldn't be much longer than that. They should be fairly short gameplays, maybe 2 to 4 hours, possibly maybe up to 6. But then we have our appendix, which is filled with the Hobbit pre-made characters. This is another really great piece of art. I love this. So we get to see one of the hobbits seeing the elves, the high elves, as they're traveling west to go to the Grey Havens, more than likely, as the elves are declining in the world at this time period. So again, I didn't really mention before, but the game is taking place in between the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So everything is going to be in between there. Frodo has not shown up yet. Bilbo, though, is back in the Shire. So that's kind of the information that you'll have there. But a really cool piece of art. And so our pre-made characters, we get Drogo Baggins. We get a nice little bit of information for him, and then the character sheet itself. We have Esmeralda Took. We have Lobelia Bracegirdle, Paladin Took the Second, Primula Brandybuck, and Rorimic Brandybuck, and Bilbo Baggins himself. So that is everything that is in this book. I think it's super exciting, I guess is what I can say. It's super exciting because I love Middle-earth, I love Lord of the Rings. I've been a huge fan of Tolkien for a long time. And the fact that Freely Publishing doesn't want to hold on to the game just for the people who might not play 5th edition rule set, they want to make it easier for more people to get a hold of. The game, though, the One Ring 2nd edition, is phenomenal, and if you're interested in learning a new game, then that's one that I would definitely suggest. But if you love 5th edition rule set and you want to keep playing with it, then the game is now available for you to play in Middle-earth 5th edition. And this has been done before by Cubicle 7, but they lost the rights to it. Now Freely Publishing has the rights. So everybody, thank you for going on this little adventure with me as we kind of quickly flowed through the Shire adventures. And let's go back up and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, everybody, so we just finished taking a look through the Lord of the Rings 5e Shire Adventures from Free League Publishing. And as you can tell, there's a bunch of really great information in here for the lore master running the game, as well as some great pre-written adventures. And again, I know I've said this on the channel before, but anytime I can get my hand on pre-written adventures, my life is that much easier. I'm not a writer. I don't come up with a whole bunch of stuff on my own normally. And so when I can just grab a book and I can read through it and there's an adventure ready to play with my friends, I'm all on board for that. Now, they have, again, Freely Publishing put together another beautiful book. I love the art in here. I like the style. I like the layout. The hardcover here fits in with the same style that most of the 5e books that have been put out before. It fits that same style, so it's going to look nice on the shelf next to them. And Free League is just continuing to do a really great job of taking the intellectual properties that they're getting a hold of and creating really great games. They've done a bunch of games for Alien. They've done it for Blade Runner. So if you're interested in Lord of the Rings or just Tolkien or The Hobbit or any of those things, Middle Earth is here ready for you to play in now. So if you've liked this video, go ahead and give it a like, maybe subscribe to our channel, but definitely head on over to freeleaguepublishing.com. Check out this game and all of the other fantastic games that they are making. You can also head over to tabletopgamingguild.com and learn a little bit more about us. And if this video helped, go ahead and give it a like. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And until we talk again, keep on playing games.